So hello everyone, my name is Ibrahim Hanbal, and in this video we'll be going over Module 1 for Empowerment Technologies, and here we'll go over an introduction to ICT. So we'll be covering several different topics. The first one being this one, the definition of ICT, or what are some common definitions of ICT. We'll also be looking at how ICT is impacting different industries around the world and in the Philippines, and we'll also be looking at how ICT is being used in different fields. So some of the global trends, in other words, that are driving development of ICT technologies and ICT products and services. So let's start off with a basic definition of what ICT is. So, ICT has three letters which stand for information, communication, and technology. Information is the knowledge that is obtained from reading, investigation, study, or research. Communication is the act of transmitting messages and the process whereby information is exchanged between individuals. Technology is the application of science used to solve problems. So, putting these three together, the information here in regards to ICT can refer to all sorts of posts, text, videos, pictures that are being shared and uploaded online. So, for example, Facebook posts, we have messages sent, we have pictures being uploaded, videos being uploaded. All of these can be considered various forms of information. It doesn't really matter whether or not that information is, very educational or professional. It can just be, memes. It can just be entertainment, or more of day-to-day activities, but those are still considered some sort of information. Communication is focused around how that information is being transferred. So is it being sent via messenger? Is it being sent via email? Is it being uploaded by or is it being uploaded on YouTube? Is it being uploaded, let's say, to Instagram, and so on? So how is that data being transferred? How is that data being shared? We also have technology. What is the different tools that we use? Obviously, we have our phones, we have our computers, we have our laptops. What about the way that we connect to the internet? We have Wi-Fi, we have mobile data, we also have um, um, DSL, we have dial-up, and so on. So these are the three components that make up ICT, or that generally speaking make up ICT. So putting these three together, ICT is the technology required for information processing. So in other words, this is the tools, this is the um, in, techniques that we need in order for us to be able to process information online. So this can be done with the use of electronic computers, communication devices, software, and software applications. Now, it is shown here that ICT can be used to blank information from anywhere and anytime. So we have here 6 different categories. So if we go through this one by one, it's just a pen tool here. So ICT can be used to convert. It can be used to convert information. How exactly does that work? Here, we are converting, let's say, an image or a picture to, let's say, a video. We're converting one form of media, one form of information into another form. So we are simply editing, we are enhancing, we are maybe modifying it in order maybe to, let's say, convey a message better, or to make it more appealing or much easier to understand. So we can convert information. We'll turn it from, let's say, an image to a video. We'll add some music, or we can turn a text to, let's say, a audio file. Some examples of these are audiobooks. So there are many ways that we can convert information from one form to another. We can also store information. We can store information, so we can save data on our phone, we can save data on our computers, we can save data online. So there are many ways for us to store information, to store data, whether that's to keep it for safekeeping or to make it easier for us to access and, let's say, duplicate. We can also protect. We can also protect information or protect data. How do we do this? We have things such as passwords. We have um, we have two-factor authentication or 2FA. We also have, um, let's say, securing, let's say, our servers, securing our computers or laptops in a safe place so that they are not stolen, they are not taken by someone, and then the information inside those computers will now be vulnerable to copying or to theft. So those are some ways that we can protect our information. We can also process the information. So we can process information. In other words, we can try to transform, we can try to um, place it, let's say, from a pen and paper to a digital database. So, for example, when you apply, let's say, to a school, you might be filling up a paper form initially, but once you submit that form, it will be processed by, let's say, an admin staff, and they will encode that information into a computer, which will then transfer the information to a database. This way, they will be able to secure your data much more easily. And if they need to update your information, or let's say contact you, or access your information for whatever purpose, they can do that much more easily. You can also transmit information. So obviously, sometimes we may want to send or we want to receive information. With this, we'll be able to send data to our uh, uh, recipients, to our loved ones, to our friends. We can send information online through social media. We can send it using email. We can send it using sharing applications such as, let's say, Mega. We have ForShared. We have other sharing apps. And we can also retrieve that information. So after sending it, obviously, the next step is to retrieve. So you can download, you can copy, you can save, you can then create a backup of your own. So there's a lot of ways that we can use information with the help of technology. Here are some definitions by different organizations with regards to what ICT is. The first one is from UNESCO. They say that it is the scientific, technological, and engineering disciplines and the management techniques used to handle, transmit, and or to handle and transmit information with men and machines. For the official IBM glossary, ICT is the use of computer-based information systems and communication systems to process, transmit, and store data and information. For digital video technical glossary, they define ICT as the computing and communications facilities and features that support teaching, learning, and a range of activities in education, while the UK National Curriculum document defines ICT as the technology used to handle information and aid communication. Now, looking at these four definitions, we can try to find a similarity between these. So if we look at some of the keywords, transmit information, here we have process, transmit, and store data or information. Here, this is ICT can support teaching, learning, and a wide range of activities. And here, ICT is used to handle information and aid communication. So looking at these two sets of, or these four sets of definitions, we'll see that there's a common idea presented here, and that is that ICT is in many cases used to handle information. That information again can be educational, it can be professional, it can be um, relevant job information, it can just be entertainment or more of, let's say, a movie or a video, but that is still information. So ICT is concerned with how we send, how we receive, how we process that information, not necessarily what it's for or what it's about, but more on how the data itself is handled. One of the definitions here focuses on how it's used in education. This can tell us that ICT is not only limited to, let's say, programming, or let's say videos, or um, um, topics on IT, such as animation, software development, web development, and so on. But ICT can also help enhance or transform other areas or other industries and how they transfer or how they manage their own information. Putting all of these ideas together, ICT is the convergence of computers, microelectronics and communications that constitute the information and communication technology for the purpose of acquisition, processing, storage, and dissemination of information. Now, that is defining ICT. Let us go over what is ICT. What exactly are the different technologies that are involved in the world of ICT? So, just to reiterate, ICT is the technology used for communicating information. It allows us to locate, save, send, and edit information. So we can do a lot of modifications and things with technology with regards to information. Now, let us look at some of the examples and the uses of ICT tools and ICT applications or services. The first one is it can be used as a way for us to communicate, so in the form of communication devices. We have internet connection, obviously. One way is through video conferencing, so using applications like Zoom, like Skype, Google Meet, and so on. We also have chatting, so if you're making use of messenger applications and the like. We also have cellular networks, so we have 4G, 5G, LTE. We have different service providers such as Smart, Globe, um, Sun Cellular, we have TM, we have Talk and Text, and so on. We also have payphones, which are the predecessor to, um, you could say, mobile phones or smartphones. They are essentially public phones which you insert a coin and you'll be able to make a call to a landline or other payphones. We also have information. So ICT can be used to handle information. In this case, more of informative data. So example is the news. Many news agencies are now transferring their content online, or at least making alternative versions online. So here, you'll be able to access the content on their websites, on the respective websites of these news um, or news agencies. So, for example, ABS-CBN, Time, we have New York Times, and so on. Books can also now be read online. So, if you're someone who enjoys reading books, you can find a lot of stores now sell ebooks. So, you don't have to buy a paperback or a hardbound or a hard copy, you could say, of a book. You can just download the ebook once you have purchased it. So, this way you can just read it on your phone or on your laptop or your computer, or if you have a dedicated ebook reader. We also have research journals if you are looking for more scholarly articles. So many journals are now making their very large repertoires available online. One example of which is EBSCOhost. Here are some examples of how these are actually used. So let's try to zoom in. Here you can see this is an example of the Time magazine. So this is they are well known as a magazine that has lots of articles, especially on popular topics, on people, etc. But they also have a website where you can access many of their articles. On the right hand side, we have here ABS-CBN. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. This is their alternative website if you would like to view the news articles that they have on the internet. We also have e-learning. So e-learning is or e-learning applications and technologies will allow students to learn anywhere and anytime. So this is very useful, especially for cases where students are unable to go online, or at least unable to um, head to face-to-face classes. So examples of this are Canvas. We have Edmodo. We also have Google Classroom, and so on. For online record systems, these are meant to be online databases for people to be able to access records, patient records, student records, employee records, and other user information. So, looking at some examples, this is one particular e-learning website. This is called Coursera, as you can see here. So this is a type of e-learning site that is focused more on providing online courses. So they have, as you can see, different courses on several topics. So anything from science to math to language to programming to chemistry. So they have a very wide category, or several categories of online courses. Moving to the right hand side, you can see here that this is an example of how you would be able to view the course. Here, you'll be able to view the course content on the left hand side and then watch a video on the different course material. We also have an online record system, as you can see here. Let's zoom in. Here, you can see that this is a similar to a student record system. This is, I believe, for a flight school, and you can see, you can look at the information of the student, a picture, their email, phone number, their balance, and other pertinent information. We also have different software. So there's a lot of software that you can download and purchase online, and each of these have a different purpose or different uses. So here are some common examples. We have AutoCAD. Or specifically the term CAD stands for computer aided design. These are usually what we call software that is for helping you design models, 3D models, 2D models, and so on. We also have Audacity, which is a music production software or music mixing, and we have Office applications, specifically Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. So let's look at some examples. As we can see here, AutoCAD, this is a application for creating digital plans. So if we zoom in, we can see this is the software. This is obviously a 2D blueprint of a house, for example, or a cabin rather, and you can see it's quite detailed. All the information, or a lot of information, is placed on the sign itself, as well as the sides here. And if we go to the bottom, we can see here that there's also other tabs. So it's not just the floor plans, you can also create a 3D model and other sections or other notes in order to complement your current or your design plans, or your blueprint rather. So this is a very useful tool for architects, for engineers, for people who work with a lot of 3D devices, or at least they design a lot of, let's say, physical devices or physical structures. We also have Audacity. Audacity is an excellent software for audio recording. If you want to just record your voice, you want to do editing, you want to do mixing, you want to cut audio, combine audio together, Audacity is very useful for that. And the best thing of all, it is free. You don't have to pay anything. You can just download the entire thing for free. So it's a very good starting point if you would like to use a powerful but simple music or audio mixing software. We also have other applications of ICT, including cartoon animation and survey results or election results. In the case of cartoon animation, this is meant to help. These applications are meant to help the animator with speeding up the animation process and making it much easier for them to refine their animations. Since they do not have to draw every frame, they can make use of tools which will help make the animations much smoother and much more high quality. We also have survey results or election results. As seen here in the description, the focus is on automating the counting so that you don't have to count all of the votes, all of the responses by hand. And it will allow the results to be transferred immediately instead of being handled manually or by hand. So here are some examples. We have obviously cartoon animation here. On the left hand side, we have a traditional animation done on paper. So as you can see, it is a drawing of a rabbit. And it is done, each frame is each page represents a frame. On the right hand side, we have a character from an animated show. I believe this is Maui from the show Moana or the movie Moana. And we can see they are designing his 3D model, and you can if you can see on the right hand side, there's a lot of options just for the eyes alone. So it's a very comprehensive, there are many very powerful tools that allow you to really iron out or put in all the details that you want into your characters. Here's another example. Here, this is more of a sample of how animation can be done on a computer in a 2D style. So here we see a 2D animation that is being done, and as you can tell, there's guidelines. So similar techniques to if you were on paper, but here you'll be able to at least, or you will remove the step rather of having to scan your drawings on paper, so that it will be easier for you to refine and iron out the details of your picture or your animation. We also have a sample of online survey results. As you can see here, this is a sample application that will be able to track the voters in a certain area, and it also has different options for tagging the demographics. So it also can count the voter by house, by gender, and so on, as well as other pertinent information. Now, let us look at how ICT is currently in the Philippines. Where are we as a country with regards to ICT? Now, it says here that Philippines is the ICT hub of Asia as dubbed by international companies. Why is this the case? It may seem kind of hard to believe, since not many people have a computer here, or not everyone has a computer here, their own personal computer or laptop, and our internet here is not exactly the best. But there's a reason for this. One of the big reasons is that many Filipinos have a phone. Many of you right now might have two phones or three phones even, but many of you will probably, or most of you will probably have your own device, your own personal phone. And combine that with the fact that there's most Filipinos have their own phone, whether that's for work, whether that's for, let's say, school, whether that's for entertainment or just for communication. There's a lot of potential customers, in other words, for these companies to go to. So let's say companies that offer streaming services like Spotify or Netflix or iFlix, they can tap into the market here because there is a big potential for people to subscribe to these services, since a lot of people now consume content, videos, music, movies, etc. on their cell phones. The ICT industry is also 19.3% of employment. So this was back in 2010, but we can see here that there's many businesses that hire many businesses that are in the practice of BPO, or they are type of BPO, which is business process outsourcing. In other words, these are companies which are hired by other organizations outside the Philippines in order to do their customer service or admin work for them. So in this case, many Filipinos are, let's say, working as call center agents or virtual assistants or something similar for these international companies. So that is one of the common jobs, or one of the common career choices for many Filipinos, especially fresh graduates. Now, just a bit of trivia. There was an article or a sort of study done by Time Magazine a few years back on some of the most selfiest cities around the world. And what they found was that out of around 100 or so cities, in the top 20, three of them were taken by cities in the Philippines. Actually, the first one, the number one spot, was taken by none other than Makati and Pasig City, with a total of 258 selfie takers per 100,000 people, followed by Cebu City at number 9, Baguio City at number 16, and Iloilo City at number 36. Now, what does this tell us? Again, this just reiterates the fact that many Filipinos have a phone. Many Filipinos have a smartphone. Many Filipinos have a laptop. And many Filipinos have a computer. So, again, as seen from this, there's a lot of people in Makati, Pasig, Cebu, and Baguio who like to take selfies, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, this illustrates that there's a big market, especially for people who or companies who are selling mobile or smartphone products. A simple example is companies like Oppo. They advertise themselves as the selfie experts. So if we advertise a selfie expert phone or a selfie centric phone to an audience or to a market who is known to take selfies, then that could very much be a recipe for success. So that's one of the reasons why many companies are starting to shift their focus to here as one of their key markets. Now, let's look at how ICT is being developed and how ICT is being used to enhance different industries and different fields in the Philippines. The first things that we look at is what we call the e-enabled society. So citizens now have access to technologies that provide quality education, sufficient government service, a greater source of livelihood, and a better way of life. So in other words, there are many tools now there are many services now which are enhanced, which are made faster or simpler with the help of technology. An example can be seen on the right hand side. As it says here, this is for the NBI clearance. This is the website that you can go to if you would like to claim or if you would like to apply for an NBI clearance, which is a document that you would need when you were applying for a job, or if you are applying for, let's say, uh, other legal or government documents. So this used to be done manually. In other words, you'd have to go to, let's say, the NBI office and wait there, or go through a manual process of filling out the form, waiting in line, and going through different several steps just to get your NBI clearance. But now you can simply fill out a form online, make a payment at your preferred payment center, and you can find once the NBI clearance is ready, or once you've set your appointment, you can then go to the NBI office during your set appointment and get your NBI clearance without much of a hassle. So it's definitely a much shorter process, and it's a much more convenient process. So both for the users and for the officials themselves. We also have some strategic principles that ICT employs. We have fueling economic growth. So let's just highlight some of these. Fueling economic growth, reducing the cost of government, providing universal access, building consumer confidence, grow human resources, content development. So many of the ICT developments now have one of these, if not all of these, in mind. So the idea here is that we want to be able to provide some benefits to society, to the people, with the use of technology. A simple example is the website on the right side, or the right hand side. You can see there that this is a website called onlinejobs.ph or onlinejobs.ph, and this is a site where you can find online work for people who, let's say, are work from home, or freelance workers or home-based workers. So this will obviously provide universal access, since you don't have to essentially you don't have to move cities, you don't have to take a bus ride or live in another city. You can work from where you are as long as you have the tools needed. It also provides economic growth, because more people that have a job means more people who have money, and more people who will be able to spend and drive the economy. Those are some simple examples on how ICT can help society if it is implemented well, obviously. So that is some of the goals, the strategic goals, or the strategic principles that we try to aim for when we are developing ICT, when we are trying to enhance services and products and other organizations with ICT. Now, let us look at how ICT is changing in the industry, or how ICT changes the industries that it gets involved in. So, let's look at the investment on information-based products to start with. We'll see here that many companies now are starting to gather information, a lot of information about their customers. So, information is the key word here. a lot of information is being gathered. Their browsing history, their likes, their dislikes, their shopping history. When you browse, let's say, a catalog on, or when you browse the catalog of Shopee or Lazada, Shopee and Lazada are both keeping an eye on what you're opening, what you're clicking, or what you're checking out, because they want to recommend products which are similar to what they think you are interested in. That's why you might get recommendations. Let's say if you're searching for shoes, you might get recommendations for new shoes or new different types of sandals or clothes even. The next time you log into Shopee, you log into Lazada or even Amazon or AliExpress. So you are many companies are trying to understand their customers better in order to be able to advertise, to be able to offer them products which are more suited to them, the individual person. In the case of the customer, they are also trying to get more information about the products that they buy. So in the case of, let's say, someone who is shopping, they may want to know, they may want to price match, they may want to, let's say, check if the store that they're going to has a good price, or if they can find better prices elsewhere. So an example can be seen here on the bottom right. This is a sample of how technology can work. You can make use of augmented reality in order to detect or to determine the price of a product just by taking a picture of it. So on the top right, on the other hand, that is more of using ICT to better fine-tune how you use technology. So let's say you want to make coffee. Normally, you would just press a button and the coffee maker would do the rest. But some people want to be in more control. They want to really fine-tune the options, fine-tune the amount of milk, the amount of sugar, the amount of coffee itself, etc. So that is something that many companies are moving towards. That's why many apps, many appliances now come with their own app. We also have a greater need to build skilled tech teams. So many organizations now are employing ICT experts or IT experts in their organization. The idea here is that we want to make sure that the organization has a well-equipped team to deal with the ICT infrastructure and any problems or issues that may arise. That's why a lot of companies are hiring ICT experts. They don't necessarily have to be a company involved in ICT. They don't have to be an IT company themselves, but many organizations now are using ICT, whether that's for let's say web development, whether that's for software development, for business analysis, for big data. Are they maybe they're using it to enhance their security, using it for using IT staff as help desk or tech support, and so on. So many companies now are trying to make sure that they are equipped with the proper teams, with the proper individuals who can help propel their organization with the use of ICT. Now, here's one example of how that's being done. Obviously, online work or hiring people online. So we have an example here. This is a website called WeWork, WEWORK. This is a website where you can hire people or get hired for different jobs. Let's say design, we have writing, we have virtual assistant jobs, call, online or home-based, let's say, call center jobs, and so on. So that is some of the examples of how companies are hiring people and how people end up working online or working from home. We also have ICT being used as a digital platform for customer service or customer support. So many companies are enhancing the customer service with ICT. Why? Because it is no longer, or in the case of many companies, especially international organizations or international businesses, you cannot really support all your customers around the globe if you're doing it face to face. So you'll have to make use of ICT. So we have things like email, we have things like online help desks. You can call a number that will redirect you to, let's say, a helpline. So that is all being done with the help of ICT. No? We also have many cases now where Companies are offering help through Twitter or through Facebook Messenger. So you can message the company and they'll respond. A bot or one of their employees will respond to you via Messenger to help you out with your problem. So there's really a big focus now on enhancing customer service with the help of ICT. After all, the customer is the one who will be your driving force. They will generate or they will allow you to generate revenue. So if you keep them happy, then your business will stay afloat. We also have cybersecurity. Many businesses, many organizations are looking at cybersecurity applications, cybersecurity companies to help them out with enhancing their security. So this is to prevent data breaches, leaks, etc., so that their company will not have their data stolen, will not have their data compromised, will not have their employees' lives affected, and their customers' lives affected, since security breaches tend to usually target money or identity, the identities of the victims. For identity fraud, it can also be for blackmail and so on. So that is one of the reasons why many companies are taking cybersecurity very, very seriously. We also have tech adoption from the government. So our government is also doing their part to implement ICT in the Philippines. So the example is this one here, the ICT, which is used to spearhead the ICT use in the Philippines, so that we will enhance, we will promote economic growth and public service, of course with the help of technology. All right, that is now where we are as a country in terms of ICT. So we are focused more on the smartphone, the mobile technology side, but here we would like to take a look at what exactly are the trends. So what technologies are becoming very popular now, and what is considered the cutting edge of today's ICT, of today's technology. So the first thing that we have here is technological convergence. So this is existing technologies that merge to create new forms. In other words, we're trying to synergize technological achievements to work in a goal or task. So here, we are trying to combine different technologies, different applications in order to put them into one system. We're trying to create sort of an all-in-one device. A simple example is your smartphone. So let's say you have a smartphone here. Assuming this is your smartphone. So apologies for the crude drawing. There we go. Assuming this is your smartphone or tablet, you could say. So your smartphone is actually composed of many different components. It has a camera, so it has a camera. It has a or it has, let's say, a internet access, so internet. Let's put INT. We also have access to music. We have also access to video. We have access to, let's say, games. And we also have access to pictures. So you can view pictures, you can take pictures, you can listen to music, you can make videos or take videos, you can browse the internet, you can play games on your phone. Back then, a few years back, this really wasn't the case. If you had a phone, all it could do, let's say, was call and text people. If you wanted to take a picture, you wanted to use a camera, or you wanted to take a picture, you had to buy a separate device, a digital camera or a DSLR. So you could not just use your phone. If you wanted to browse, let's say, the internet, you had to make use of a computer. The 2G, 3G, no, 3G, 4G, and 5G were not really a thing back then. We only had, let's say, 2G or 1G, no, 2G rather, which is mainly call and text. If you wanted to listen to music, you had to use a Walkman, you had to use a MP3 player, MP4 player, or something similar. You couldn't really do that on your phone. Same thing with video, you had to get a DVD player, you had to have a TV, an actual TV, but now you can just watch entire movies, entire shows straight from your phone. That is what technological convergence is, combining different technologies, different applications into one device, sort of like a jack of all trades. We also have social media. So social media, I'm sure something most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with. This is a application that allows you to share and browse content online. So there's many types of social media. We have social networks. Here you can connect with other people who have a similar interest or background. We have Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. For bookmarking sites, we have a tool to help manage link or manage websites, manage tags, I guess you could say. So examples are the hashtags. So we have, let's say, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. We also have social news, where users can post their own news resources. Examples of these are sites like Dig, BuzzFeed, Verge, etc. We also have media sharing, sites which allow you to share images, uh, music, videos, in other words, media content. So examples are YouTube, Vimeo, and DeviantArt. For microblogging, we have short updates. So this is more like very short posts. In the case, let's say, of Twitter, I believe the text limit is 240 characters. So we have Twitter, and on the left side, Google Plus. But if you want to post longer, let's say blogs, let's say long posts with pictures, with videos, something that's like an entire essay more or less, you can use sites like Blogger. And we also have forums. Forums are a part of a website or web server. These are usually a in the form of a message board where you can post messages, or you can start a topic and then post messages or replies in line with the topic or in line with the discussion that is being set by the original poster. So let's say if the original topic is about let's say food recipes, then you will notice that the post under that topic will be mostly concerned with food recipes. If it is about car maintenance, then we have car maintenance, and so on. We also have mobile technologies. Obviously, these are technologies which are meant to be portable, compact, or lightweight. So there are different technologies that we have. The first one is Symbian. This was the original platform used by Nokia devices, so the old Nokia devices before they shifted to Windows Phone. But if you noticed on the, let's say, N95, N86, those sort of phones, and then even the previous ones before that, like their business phones, their flip phones, pretty much they all used some form of Symbian. We also have Windows Mobile, the predecessor of Windows Phone. This was back when phones were still slowly becoming mainstream. So Windows Phone OS, what is seen here is I believe it's one of the Nokia phones, or at least looks similar to the Nokia phone, but either way, it is one of the brands which made use of Windows Phone for their system. We also have BlackBerry. BlackBerry is the OS exclusive to the BlackBerry phones, which is a line of phones meant to be used more for businessmen. So if someone who is constantly on the go, communicating with, let's say, other clients, with other businessmen, etc., that may be, or that may be the use case, or the people who find this phone attractive to use. We also have Android and iOS, which are the two common ones, or commonly used ones. We have Android, obviously handled by Google. You can find it on pretty much most phones today: Oppo, Vivo, Samsung, Huawei, HTC, and so on. And iOS developed by Apple exclusively for Apple devices, in other words, the iPhone and the iPad, and their other variants. We also have assistive media. Assistive media here is a software or hardware which aid people with less abilities in accessing computers. So examples: text-to-speech, alternate keyboards, voice recognition, monitor magnification, and so on. So some example is here. This is the image. This is an image magnification or image recognition. So as you can see here, there's a picture at the bottom of this device, and then this tool is to zoom in so that the person can see the picture much more clearly. We also have this thing here, which looks like a keyboard, but it has a unique layout. This is meant to, or this is meant for people who maybe have difficulty typing with both hands due to maybe a physical or whatever impairment that they have, but this will allow them to type using only one hand without much difficulty. This one is Siri. This is a commonly used, or this is a popular virtual assistant, you could say, or assistant for iPhones, rather. iPhones, iPad, and similar products. So this is meant to be an assistant which will tell you or which will answer a question based on what you ask it. So, for example, you ask Siri, "What's the time?" Siri, "When is my next, let's say, class?" Siri, "What is the weather like tomorrow?" So those are some things that this assistant can help you with. We also have a magnification tool for zooming in and zooming out in order to make text bigger or much easier to see. We also have AI, artificial intelligence. So these are computer science concepts or applications or devices focused on making computers work and act like humans. An example of these are self-driving cars. As you can see here, this is a car that is propelled by no one. There's no one driving it, as you can tell by the GIF, but it is making use of a onboard AI that is able to navigate, that is able to drive the car by itself without the need of a human intervention, you could say. We also have robotics. Robotics is a field under artificial intelligence, so this is focused more on creating a device that can move and react to sensory input. Examples are what we see on the bottom left. So as you can see, this is a robot that's being controlled by a person who is moving their arms, and as they move their arm, the robot will respond accordingly. On the right hand side, we have a robot called Asimo. So Asimo is a robot developed by Honda, and they're meant to be sort of a personal assistant, so similar to a butler or a maid that will help you with chores around the house, serve you, let's say, food or drinks, and just be like a helpful assistant. So those are some examples of robotics or robots. We also have virtual reality. So here, this is creating a 3D or three-dimensional space that is completely computer generated. So again, the idea of virtual reality is that the entire environment is 3D. So three-dimensional, let's highlight that, three-dimensional, and it's an environment. So what you're seeing, everything that you see in the virtual world or in the virtual, let's say, goggles is all computer generated. Yes, it may resemble real life locations, real life items or devices, but for the what you're still seeing is still all computer generated. So as you can see on the top right, that is an example of a Google Cardboard. If you're, let's say, unable to, or if you cannot afford the more expensive Oculus Rift or one of the HTC Vive or one of those virtual reality goggles, that's all right. But you can opt for the much more affordable, much cheaper Google Cardboard or something similar, so that you can be able to use your phone in order to view a virtual, or you'll be able to experience virtual reality. And on the bottom right, we see here an example of how it's applied. You can see that the virtual reality application or system will give you two pictures, one for each eye, your left and your right eye. This is in order to trick your mind into thinking that what it's seeing is really in front of you, no? So that is why if you watch some videos of people who are using virtual reality, they end up like, it looks like they are about they're panicking as if they're about to fall off a cliff, even though they're standing on completely flat ground. We have augmented reality. Augmented reality is a bit different in that it focuses more on superimposing a computer generated image onto a real world background. So, for example, as you can see here, we have a green cube and ball that is placed on top of a real table. So, the idea is that you combine elements of the real world with virtual elements. Some examples of these are games like Pokemon Go, are good examples of augmented reality. You are placing a virtual element into a real life scenario, or applications such as Snapchat. Snapchat, despite it may not seem like an augmented reality app, but the filters that it provides are examples of AR. You are placing, let's say, a virtual, let's say, hat or virtual, let's say, dog ears onto your face. That is considered uh, a level of augmented reality. No, you are placing a virtual object, um, a virtual um, um, item or entity onto a real life background or real life backdrop. We also have Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is focused around how devices are connected to the internet. So simply put, if it is something that is connected online to the internet, it is an IoT device. Usually, in other words, these are devices at your house. So appliances, no, appliances which are able to connect to the internet. So your fridge, your toaster, if you have a home security camera, that is all considered IoT. In particular, we have these two that are very popular IoT assistants or IoT devices. This here is called the Amazon Alexa. So Amazon, let's actually rewrite that because that looks not that great. Let's try that again. Apologies for the bad handwriting. There, a bit better. So we have the Amazon Alexa, and here we have Google Assistant. I'll just type GA to make it simpler. So Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa. These are both examples of Internet of Things devices which are used in order for you to sort of enhance your home. So for example, the Amazon Alexa, if you connect it to your other smart devices or IoT devices, you'll be able to control, let's say, your garage door, your front door. You'll be able to control the lights in your house, your security cameras at home if you have any, that sort of thing with just one device. It's the idea is that you can create an ecosystem of technology in your own house, in your own home. So those are some examples of IoT or Internet of Things devices. We also have cloud computing, which is the last one here. Cloud computing is focused on storing and accessing data and programs over the internet instead of your hard drive. So the idea here is that you are trying to access data, or you are storing data online. So Google Drive, OneDrive, we also have online storage such as even Messenger, email. When you send files there, that is something of a form of cloud computing, although not exactly, but you are sending or receiving files over the internet. So that is essentially what this is. Instead of storing files onto your phone, onto your laptop, you can simply upload them to the cloud where they will be saved on an online server. Okay, so that is pretty much it. These are the references that were used for this presentation. You can access the notes for this in the link given or sent into to your class GCs. Okay, so that is all for Module 1. Thank you very much for listening and have a good day.